What is going on, my friends? Hank here from Sprues and Brews Scale Modeling, and today I'm going to be showing you how I built and painted up this Daimler Benz DB 605 engine from Border Model's new 135 scale Bf-109. So if you're building up this particular model, or you're just looking for some tips on scale model engine work in general, then you are in the right place. Here's a quick overview of the engine assembly in the instruction booklet. We're going to be tackling steps 1 through 3 today if you're following along at home. First things first, we're going to put together the main engine block and crankcase. It's just 3 big pieces in this kit, but they've got a nice amount of detail to each one of them. Next, we're going to attach our gearbox housing to the front of the engine block. This also houses the oil and lubrication distributors. Once that's secured, we can also insert our prop shaft into the gearbox. Our next step will be to attach the crankcase cover to the top of the engine block. I was really impressed with the engineering of this kit. The piece almost didn't need any cement to stay in place. Now, the next step on the booklet calls for us to mount this assembly on the back of the block containing the magnetos, the starter, and the sync unit for the MG131s that would sit above the engine, all that jazz. But we're going to hold off for a second here because we need to make sure that all these holes align so the center-mounted MG151 cannon can slide through the whole engine assembly without any issues. So we're going to build up that MG151 mount first. The cannon itself is just one big piece, and we need to slip this 3-piece stacking mounting system right over the barrel. Once that's all set, we can mount that starter assembly to the back of the block and slide our MG151 into place before the cement dries. Once again, really impressed with the engineering from Border Model. We've got a lovely engine falling together here already, so super happy about that. Our next step is going to be adding the ignition assembly to either side of the engine block. The DB605 is an inverted V12 direct injection system with twin plugs for each cylinder, and Border's done a really nice job here with some guide holes to make sure that each of these delicate parts fits right into place. Now we're going to pop on what I'm about 90% sure are the oil tanks. These could be part of the coolant system, but I'm pretty positive these are for the oil, but please correct me in the comments below if you know. Now it's time to attach our supercharger. The 605 used a pretty groundbreaking setup for the time. It was a hydraulic clutch system that allowed the unit to adjust automatically based on altitude, so pretty cool. Flipping the engine block over, we can pop on our intake and fuel feed lines, as well as both of our camshaft covers. We've also got some crankcase oil drain lines that link into the oil recovery system, so we'll put those in place as well. The only thing that's left assembly-wise is to attach the 12 exhaust pipes. I accidentally forgot to record this part, sorry about that, but here you can see them all lined up. And that is a beautifully engineered little DB605 engine. So with that done, let's move on to painting. Our first step is going to be to airbrush a coat of Vallejo flat black primer over our whole assembly here to give us a nice base to work with. Next, we're going to brush in some Vallejo white aluminum on these ignition feed lines, being careful not to overpaint onto our engine block itself. And while we've got it out, we're also going to hit both of the oil tanks with that same color. And finally, our prop shaft is also going to get a coat of Vallejo white aluminum as well. Transitioning to some Tamiya copper, we're going to paint in these spark plug lead lines as well as the lines coming off of the oil tanks. Now we're going to tackle our exhaust pipes. We're going to start with some Vallejo orange rust, which looks a little aggressive at first, but stick with me here. Once those are all painted up, we're going to hit them with some Vallejo light rust wash. Nothing fancy here, just sludge some of that wash on each one of the pipes. Once the wash is applied, take an old brush and stipple on some dark pigment. I'm using Ammo Dark Earth, but you can use whatever you have handy, and this is going to give us a nice crusty texture here. Don't worry about making too much of a mess. Once this dries, you can easily knock off any excess you have with a stiff bristled brush. You can see here that the pigment gives us a much better color and texture than we originally had with just the rust paint. And for a final touch here, I like to come back with the light rust wash once again and add a little more on top of the pigment we just laid down. This helps us achieve a really nice look that's a little more burnished than rusty, which is exactly what we're going for with an aircraft that's seeing a lot of action in the field. Next, we're going to do a little bit of dry brushing to help accentuate all the lovely sculpt details on this engine. We're going to grab a little Vallejo white aluminum on our brush and remove almost all of it on a paper towel. Then you're just going to gently pass the brush over the raised edges of your engine. This will help accentuate all those bolt heads and raised details across the surface of our power plant. With that complete, we can move on to weathering. In order to protect the work we've already done, we're going to spray the whole engine with a gloss coat of AK Interactive Intermediate Gauzy Agent, which I did off camera. Once that's cured, we're going to add a bit of a wash with some ammo streaking grime to dirty up our engine a bit. Can't have it looking too factory fresh. And a little bit of fresh engine oil here is going to help create some variation to that weathering. Once all those elements are dry, we can hit our engine with a coat of matte varnish, and voila! You've got yourself a beautiful, small-scale Daimler Benz DB 605. If you'd like a chance to win one of these brand new Border Model Bf-109 kits for yourself, be sure to stick around until the very end of the video. I'm running a virtual model competition through the beginning of October, and this could be your chance to take home an awesome 135 scale kit at an $80 value, absolutely free. We've got a whole bunch of other great prizes as well, so be sure to check it out. Please be sure to subscribe right here to Sprues and Brews Scale Modeling for more tips, tricks, and other helpful tutorials, and if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments below. Until next time, my friends, be well, happy building, cheers.